by our IEEE members or non-IEEE members. Really, when we start joining this society, then we came to know the importance of the society. Now, I think if we talk about artificial intelligence, so I'm not beginner. Actually, I'm just I can say I do not know. I do not have any knowledge about artificial intelligence. Last 2 years back, I just came to contact with some persons who were working in clean energy. Then I came to know, okay, so artificial intelligence is the way to connect clean energy and everything, renewable energy sources. So nowadays, actually, we can say yes, the future is very bright of these technologies, especially artificial intelligence. It's very impactful, we can say, in this scenario. So some sectors are just at the start of their AI journey. Like if we talk about transportation, it could take a decade or more to perfect them. Some autonomous cars basically going from place to place. Manufacturing AI powered robots are working very well. So they are working alongside the humans to perform a limited range of tasks like assembly and stacking the materials and predictive analysis. Sensors keep equipment running smoothly. In healthcare, if we see, so there are some things which are basically doing very well by with the help of AI, like virtual nursing assistants monitor patients and big data analysis. It helps to create a more personalized patient experience. In education, textbooks are digitalized with the help of AI. So early stage virtual tutors assist human instructor. Facial analysis gauges the emotions of a student to help determine who is struggling or bored, or better tell the experience to their individual needs. In media, so journalism is harnessing AI too and will continue to benefit from it. So I think nowadays, if we talk about customer service, so Google is working on AI in a broad way that can replace human-like calls to make appointments at neighborhood hair salon and at all. So it's very helpful, but where we are lacking how to connect ourselves with the help of games, some different domains like in defense. Yes, of course, we can do a lot of things. So if we could connect Karthik in the near future in terms of some projects, so it would be very nice of us, like if our student could be engaged themselves with you. So now this is to my what, what I have heard from Google and some books and from our students and some professors. So I think this session will be very beneficial for the students especially, and for me also, because I am also beginner for this. Thank you so much. Please join us and let us start the event. Now you may carry on. Um, Nitya, please go ahead.
Sir, now I would request you to lead us forward.
Hello guys, am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
To Nitya and Aparna ma'am for that introduction regarding AI. So before starting this event or starting this session, I would like to say that this will be a really basic session for beginners, like AI for beginners basically. So let's start the session. And one more thing I would like to say is that AI is not at all rocket science anymore. Everyone can learn, study, and do AI stuffs like very easily as other technologies that are booming right now. So AI is not at all a rocket science anymore. Feel free to ask or interact the doubts in the session as well. So let's start the presentation. Um, who is the admin of this WebEx? Like I don't have the share access for me. Okay, fine, fine. Yeah, now it's okay. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Introduction to AI. So let's start AI, the session with the question, what is actually AI? So everyone, even me, when I was actually a beginner in AI, like I used to dream about robots and like the robotic stuffs while I'm hearing AI. Will I think that around 90% of the people is having the same mentality, because like when we are hearing the word AI, we will actually imagine a robot in our mind, and like the robot is moving and doing stuffs of its own and things like that. So that is the first picture of AI when everyone is actually hearing about AI in their mind. So is that actually correct? Is a question to everyone. But I would say that that is actually a part of AI only. It's not at all a fully fledged AI, but it is a part. Or some of the AI terminologies are clubbed together in order to make such a robot. So yeah, it is actually true to an extent, but it is also false. So AI is basically an area of computer science that actually emphasizes the creation of intelligent machines that work and react like humans. So, in a nutshell, I can say that AI is a terminology, or AI is a branch of computer science where the intelligent machines or the computers will be able to do stuffs like humans, or to take decisions intelligently like humans do. So that is actually the basics or basic definition of AI in a in an unprofessional manner, I would say. So machine will be able to take sensible decisions like humans without any external supervisions and all. So we don't have to intervene into the machines in order to do something, but we'll be actually monitoring or training the model initially, and the machine will be actually taking decisions of its own and performing in its way to arrive at a logical decision. So what is actually AI? Science, technology, or subject? Or is computers AI? So what is actually AI is a question that is arises to everyone. Initially, we are actually thinking of the subject. So where AI actually started? Everyone might be knowing this guy and that image which is actually given at the bottom of the slide. You might be studying this in your 12th standard, or even in like the BTech time also. So that is actually known as Turing test, and the guy is Alan Turing. So this test, or Turing test, is a test where the test distinguish whether it is actually a human or a computer. So we can say that there will be an interrogator, and there will be a computer as well as a human, and that interrogator will be asking questions to both the computer as well as human, and they will be actually responding. So at a point, that guy, the person who is mentioned as C here, will actually find difficult that to see which answer is done by whom. Did the computer answered, or did the human answered? He is not able to figure at a point. So if it actually achieves such a point, we can actually say that the system is intelligent, and that system actually passes the Turing test. So this is where it all started. Or the conventional AI methods are actually broadly available in the white papers, which is in 19th century and all. So it actually started from even a far above right. So John McCarthy actually coined AI. He's also known as the father of AI. So he actually given a definition for that also. So that is, every aspect of learning or any other feature of intelligence can, in principle, be so precisely described that a machine can be able to simulate it. So this is what the thing that we are actually saying from the beginning of the slide itself. So main topics of AI. so these are the topics that we will be actually seeing in this session as a beginning or introductory session, which is prediction, classification, knowledge representation, natural language processing, um, interacting with the environment and expert system. So let's see what actually these terms are. So let's take the first first point, which is prediction. Suppose I have some data with me, or okay, like let's leave that terminologies. Okay, so I am actually referring to some things regarding. Okay, so corona is a like widely spread right now. So I'm actually making this as a corona aspect regarding that prediction thing. So I'm actually seeing the data or the the news regarding the corona in our newspaper or any other medias, and I'm actually seeing the hike and also the daily count of corona cases which is actually happening at a place. So I'm actually doing that for a week or so to see what is actually the condition of that place. So I am making a prediction that what will be the case or the daily case which is actually going to appear tomorrow. So we do close guess regarding the actual number, because we are actually doing this for a while and we are actually seeing this kind of data and daily cases of that area for a while. So we can actually do a close guess regarding that prediction. So such a terminology is known as prediction in AI. So let's take the another thing, which is classification. So suppose you have some images with you, or you are actually seeing some images through physical or online medias, and yeah, so you have only two images. You are actually viewing two images only, two set of images. So after that, you are actually taking other image or some other images from some other places regarding which is actually belonging to these two sets, but that is not in that set. So you are actually able to precisely say that this image, the image that is newly shown, is actually belonging to either any of these classes. So this is known as classification. And the next one is knowledge representation. Yeah, so I'll take another example for explaining knowledge recommendation as well. Suppose I am working on Kerala and I'm an artificial intelligence engineer, and I'm working on innovation incubator advisory as an artificial intelligence engineer. So here we have so many data as well as so many relations, because uh, me as an entity and Kerala as an entity, we can say that I am living in Kerala. So that living actually comes as a relation there between me and Kerala. And me and Innovation Incubator Advisory, which is my company, I can actually relate me and Innovation Incubator Advisory as a relation called working. And the next thing is my and artificial intelligence engineer. So I can actually represent both of them or connect both of them with a relation profession. So this is actually known as knowledge representation in a general manner. So this is actually achieved in AI as well. And the next one is natural language processing. So this is actually familiar to everyone, because even if you are actually taking the voice assistant or even the laptop assistant, everything, we are actually doing a natural language processing here, because we'll actually have a code word in order to trigger that assistant. After that, that will be in a listening position, and we will ask the query, our query that is needed to be answered, and that assistant will actually listen for a while, and it will process, and it will actually return an apt answer for that question regarding that domain. So this procedure, end-to-end procedure, actually comes under natural language processing. The next one is interacting with the environment. Here we have speech recognition and computer vision. So I already told about that assistant, where we are actually making a speech there, and or we are actually telling that assistant in order to do something. So uh, we can actually think that in another perspective, like you have a voice lock in your phone or a system. So it has to identify your voice in order to unlock that system in any gadget. So you are actually speaking and it is actually getting unlocked. While your friends or any relatives is actually speaking to that system, it won't get unlocked. So that is actually happening in speech recognition because everyone's voice is having its own unique features. So with the help of that unique features, it is able to unlock that system. So here we are actually, so that is actually known as speech recognition. The next one is computer vision, which is also a booming technology in nowadays. So computer vision in a nutshell, we can actually say that how computers is actually watching or seeing the real world environment in their perspective, or as humans do in their perspective. So that is actually known as computer vision. We can actually see so many applications of computer vision in nowadays. Next one is expert system. Expert system is actually somewhat around an out of box concept. Basically, like okay, so you can actually imagine an workstation of a car or a manufacturing unit of a certain car. So here you can actually see so many machines. They are actually producing certain components of the car, and some other machine is actually sticking these components in order to make that as a car, and some others are testing its performance as well. So they are actually some intelligent system which is able to, which is actually programmed to do something related with that car manufacturing. So that kind of systems is actually known as expert system, which is actually far beyond the AI concepts, which is actually out of box thing. So that are the main topics of AI. So yeah, so this is actually the graph which actually defines every domain of AI here. So as everyone knows that artificial intelligence is the superset of everything. Every intelligent aspect, it is actually the superset. So from artificial intelligence, we have machine learning. Further, machine learning is divided into deep learning and predictive analytics. Then from artificial intelligence, we have natural language processing. From natural language processing, we have translation, classification, and clustering, then information extraction, etc. Then again, we have speech. From speech, we have speech to text as well as text to speech. Then expert system is again there. Then planning, scheduling, and machine vision here. So let's actually dive into each and every aspect of these as well. So like here we all know that the word machine learning as well. So everyone actually in the beginning stage, everyone actually confused with three terms, which is deep learning, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. So machine learning is actually a subset of artificial intelligence where we are actually dealing with a statistical mechanism only. We'll be having a statistical model and we'll be dealing with that only. So further dividing that machine learning, because for some procedures, machine learning is not enough. We have to even deal with complex data rather than a statistical data. So for that kind of purposes, we are actually dealing with deep learning. In deep learning, as I told, we are actually dealing with some complex amount of data and complex structures of data. And predictive analytics, as I told about that prediction, that is also coming under predictive analytics. Then we have natural language processing. For the natural language processing, we have translation, classification, and clustering, as well as information extraction. Um, Everyone is actually familiar with Google Translate, where we will be actually giving a phrase in some language we'll be knowing, and while we are actually pressing the translate button, that text we actually given to that non-language will be converted to some other language that we need. So that is actually known as translation in an aspect. Then we have classification and clustering. I already told about classification. Let's talk about clustering right now. So, okay, let's take your student branch as an example. So here we have different societies. So these different societies have like different behaviors, but the people who are actually in a particular society will be having a common behavior. So without knowing how it is actually getting classified, but with the help of that common behavior, it is actually clustered to a group. So that process, or while an system is doing that process, it is known as clustering. Next one is information extraction. We can actually define information extraction in different methods, because information extraction alone, we can say that it is actually extracting information only. But when it actually coming with deep learning or natural language processing or computer vision, we can actually define information extraction as into some other extent. Because okay, let's I'm taking natural language processing in order to explain information extraction. So in natural language processing, I am taking translation. Furthermore, in order to explain that. So in translation, uh, the information extraction. So it actually starts from the right extent where we are actually typing the text that we know in our native language. So the system identifies that that language that you have typed is actually belonging to X language, and you are actually suggesting that system to translate that text that you have entered to translate into Y language. So that is another information to be noted there. So these are the things which actually comes under information extraction. And furthermore, dividing into information extraction, we can say that so we actually define the text there. So in that text, we can actually give that as these are the alphabets, these are the phonetics, etc. We can actually define from there. So that is known as an depth information extraction. So this is actually coming under information extraction. The next one is speech. So I already told about a speech example. So we can actually do that in either ways. So the speech or the oral speech can be converted to text, or else the text which is actually given somewhere can be converted to speech as well. So that is the aspect of speech. And the next one is expert system. I already explained about the expert system. Uh, the next thing is planning, scheduling, and optimization. While we are actually defining a machine learning model or an artificial intelligence algorithm, uh, okay, it started working, and now we need to make that algorithm more efficient, or in aspect of time, or in aspect of prediction, anything. So that kind of a that kind of a scheduling or a planning is actually really important in order to do a timely decision. So these kind of things are actually coming under optimization, planning, and scheduling. Either we can actually optimize a model in the aspect of time, or in the aspect of prediction, even in the aspect of general terminologies as well. So that is coming under planning, scheduling, and optimization. Next one is robotics. So in the initial slide, I told you that while hearing about artificial intelligence, everyone actually visualizes about a robot. So robot or robotics is actually having a sub branch in artificial intelligence. Because okay, so take an example of a real world robot which we can actually walk, speak, and see as humans do, more often humanoid. So for that, these things that I have already mentioned is actually coming as a subpart in that humanoid or a robot. So that's why robotics is actually coming as a part of artificial intelligence. Next one is vision, image recognition, and machine vision. So for the image recognition thing, let's take the example of the face lock in our phone. So while we are actually putting or enabling the face lock, while we are actually opening it, it actually scans, or it actually sees that if a face is there or not initially. So if no face is encountered, we will get a message that no face is detected. And if a face is there, it actually checks that if the face belongs to the owner of the phone or not. So that process is actually known as image recognition. Machine vision, I already told about that in the previous slide. So this is all about artificial intelligence. These are the main branches of artificial intelligence. There are other branches as well, like empathetic learning, and more dense topics are also there in machine learning, sorry, artificial intelligence. But for the time being, these are the major and more general things that we have to study while we are actually going into artificial intelligence. So let's get into artificial intelligence versus machine learning versus deep learning. I, in the previous slide, told that while starting this, while starting an artificial intelligence career, or while starting studying artificial intelligence career, we will have a confusion that we'll actually hear these three terminologies commonly while we are actually studying AI. So everyone will actually get confused. What is AI, what is ML, and what is DL? And even some people think that both three are actually same. So these are some of the fact that is even now existing in the society. So to be precise, artificial intelligence is actually comes under a vast and a broad manner. And from that, I already told that it is AI and machine learning and deep learning is actually coming as a subset of artificial intelligence, where machine learning only deals with the statistical data, and the deep learning is actually going into the complex data. So for the time being, let's understand this much only. We will actually discuss more about these three terminologies in the coming slides. So what is machine learning? So machine learning, I already told that it is actually a technique for using statistical models to give computers the ability to learn from the data. So that is the basic definition of AI. And while going to the point 3 there, you can actually see that point or see that definition in every machine learning textbook as the first chapter's first paragraph, because that is the standard introduction which is given everywhere, which is propounded by Tom Michael. So which is a computer program is said to learn from experience E with respect to some class of task T and performance measure P if its performance at task T is measured by P improves with an experience E. So this is the standard definition which is given everywhere. So the basic premise of a machine learning algorithm is to build algorithm that can receive input data and use statistical analysis to predict an output while updating the output as new data become available. Already told that thing even before, because initially, okay, let's take another example here. We have some clay with us, and we have a clay modeling machine also with us. So with that clay, we have to make something. So let's say that we are actually making a I'm not going into further of that. So we have clay with us and we have a clay making machine with us. So we have to make something which is meaningful with that thing. So initially we actually studies how to make something, and we will make something, and after that someone or something we'll actually want, we'll try to make with that. So that is how even a machine learning algorithm actually works. For the model, we actually select the data, and we arrive or we identify the solution in depth, and we choose a model, we train the model or we create a model with that, and we will actually see the inference or how that model is actually behaving to the real world scenario. So that is how machine learning is actually working. And the next thing or the last point, data is the new oil. That is actually a true thing, because everyone knows that even Facebook, Google, WhatsApp, everyone is actually taking our data, and so many riots and strikes are actually happening in order to stop that. But without that data, that system or the intelligent system which is actually operating these applications is nothing, because they need the real world data or how we are actually behaving or how we are actually responding to the things that are actually available online. So then only that system can become more intelligent, and it can only be optimized in that manner only. So data is the new oil, because it is highly inflammable and highly needed in nowadays for training a machine learning algorithm. So even if a third world war is actually happening, it will be only for data, because that much data is having influence in the present society right now. So machine learning process. So let's see how we will actually do a machine learning process end to end. So firstly, we have to identify the relevant data set and prepare them for analysis. So that's the first and foremost thing that we have to do. And the second one is choose the type of machine learning algorithm to use. I already told that there are different types of machine learning algorithm, different types of deep learning algorithm. And there is a saying that for every computational problem that is in the world, we have a machine learning problem to solve that. Sorry, machine learning algorithm to solve that. So choose a type of machine learning algorithm to use, and I am actually stressing on to that point. We have to choose a machine learning algorithm efficiently and effectively, because even if we can actually solve that problem with some other method while optimizing, or in some extent it may be, or we may find that that algorithm is not useful for such a particular problem. So for that we have to choose the machine learning problem effectively. Next one is identify an analytical model, builds an analytical model based on the chosen algorithm. uh, Even in the previous slide we discussed about the statistical mechanism. So we have to make such a mechanism or such a model with the help of the data and with the help of the algorithm that we have chosen. So with that we are actually training the model, or else we are actually forcing the model to study the pattern or the things that are actually in the data. It's the model, and on the test data revising as it is needed. After training the model, we have to see how that model is actually working for real world scenario. So for that, we have to test the model. And if we actually find the model is not efficient, we have to either do some other optimization and other hyperparameter tuning in the model, and we have to retrain the model. Or else we have to substitute another algorithm for using that. Even it is not working for that, we have to change the data. That is the statistical method, or that is the research method which is actually coming for machine learning. Next one is runs the model to generate scores and find other findings. So that is the fifth and last step, where we'll run the model and generate the scores regarding the prediction or something that is actually doing, and we'll see what are the things that is actually capable with that model. So this is how a machine learning process actually happens. Firstly, we'll actually take the data, we'll do an analysis on that, or we'll clean the data. Then we will choose a app machine learning algorithm in order to build a model. Then in the third step, we'll be building a model, and fourth step, we'll train the model, then test to see how it is actually working. Fifth one is the real world testing and the scenarios regarding that. So this is the machine learning process altogether. So let's see about the types of machine learning. Actually, I'm taking that clay and that clay making machines example here as well for this slide, because we can actually explain that in a really good manner here. So technical terms, we have basically three types of machine learning, which is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. We have other learnings as well, but these are the three major divisions of machine learning. So let's see what are these things in a real world scenario. So I'm taking supervised learning first. So for the supervised learning, I'm taking that clay and clay modeling machine here. So you have clay with you and you have the clay modeling machine. So someone asked you to make a pot with that clay and clay modeling machine. So you took the clay, you put on that modeling machine, and you are actually doing that thing that they will do with the hand, and your pot is actually ready. But if you are doing this for the first time, you may not get that pot which is usable as other people do, because they will be experienced and you are doing this for the first time. So you will actually do that again. You will actually destroy that pot that you have got right now, and you will do that again and see how it is actually right now. And with the help of doing this in a cyclic manner, you will achieve a good pot out of the clay that you have with you. So this process is actually known as supervised learning, because you know what you have to do, and you have to make the thing that you have with us to the thing that you have to do. Because for example, here I'm taking the classification as an example. You have two sets of images, say apple and orange. You are actually training a model to identify whether the image is coming under apple or orange. So you have a data set with you with these two set, and you are training this model. You may get errors, because some errors will be there. Sometimes orange will be classified as apple, or apple will be classified as orange. So you are actually trying to make it more efficient, that apple will be classified only as apple and orange will be classified only as orange. So such a process is actually known as supervised learning. So let's see unsupervised learning. I'm taking that clay and clay modeling machine again. Here you have clay with you, and no one actually insisted to make you anything, but you want to make something, or you want to see what you can actually make out of it. Such a process is actually known as clustering. I already told about that society scenario, because here you have so many societies, and so that societies will be having different behaviors, but the people who are in a single or a particular society, or the group of people in that society will be having same behavior. So such a process is known as clustering. Next, which is reinforcement learning. Again, I am taking that clay and clay modeling machine. Here, you are not making anything. You are actually simply sitting here, and instead of you making these kind of things, you actually made an agent or a thing which will be able to make something which is out of clay. So you are telling that model to make, or that agent or that machine to make something, like say you are actually trying to tell to that agent or that machine to make pot again, and you are only saying to make it, and you are not making it. So that agent or that machine will be making pot for you. And here what we will actually do is that if that pot is correct, or if it actually made in a really pleasing manner, we will actually reward him with something. So, say you are actually rewarding him with money. So, or in robot or you are actually rewarding him with charge. So if he actually makes that in a really good manner, you are actually charging him. And if he actually makes mistakes, you are not doing anything. Instead, you are actually raising your voice and saying that it is not correct, and you are kind of a punishing him. So this is the method we actually enforce in reinforcement learning. So with the help of that errors that that model is actually making, it actually studies of its own, and it gets used to that environment. So even not you, some other people come, and you are actually telling that machine to make something. Say you are actually telling to make a cup of out of clay, and that machine is already having so many experiences because of your training. So that kind of a methodology is known as reinforcement learning. So let's see the examples as well. Supervised learning, we have regression and classification. Unsupervised, we have clustering. And reinforcement learning, we have agent environment interactions. So next thing is that the real world examples. Predicting the stock price comes under regression, because you are actually into real this kind of stock market and stuff, and you don't know how to invest on something, or you don't know how to make profit out of it. So your friend is having, or your friend is a machine learning engineer, as well as a like he's also trading on stock market. So you actually told him to make an algorithm which actually does a stock market prediction uh, to do that work really efficiently. So for that, he actually collects a data. Say he's actually collecting the data from 2000, from the year 2000, and making a model to predict the stock market prediction, to see how it is actually working. So such case is known as a regression problem. The next thing is identifying the type of customer is actually coming under a classification problem. Grouping the similar customers, I have already told in the society example regarding that. Clustering, and all playing AI playing games and self-driving cars are actually example of reinforcement learning. Self-driving cars is really booming right now, because so many companies are actually researching on self-driving cars in order to make it a like a really good manner, because everyone knows that Indian roads are not meant for this kind of self-driving car experiments. So even so many companies are actually investing on Indian roads, or for self-driving cars to work on Indian roads as well. So these are all about the types of machine learning, or these are the categories of machine learning that we need to know. So let's see an other example as well. Machine learning, and these are the some perspectives of some other people. So what society thinks I do, that picture is not that much having not that much clarity. So I'll explain that for you. First picture is actually a person who is actually making some robots, I guess. So society is actually thinking that you are doing something like that. And what my friends thinks I do. Even my friends also ask regarding that what I am doing related with AI. So that is the second image. what my parents think I do, I'm leaving that. Then next thing is what other programmers think I do. I'm actually keeping that image for some other things to discuss with you as well. What I think I do and what really I do. Because initially I told that AI is not at all rocket science anymore. Everyone can learn AI as like every other technologies as well, like web designing, mobile app development, etc. You can actually do stuffs like that in AI as well. Sorry, you can actually learn AI in that manner as well. So it's only as much as that. So that's all for this image. And taking that fourth image again, what other programmers think I do. But you can actually see so many equations and stuffs in that image. That is actually true to an extent, because while you are actually working on in an R&D wing, to be precise, research and development wing, we have to do like that, because there we are actually doing experiments, we are actually doing researches, and we are actually arriving at a hypothesis. So with the help of that experiments and things that you are actually doing, you are arriving at a conclusion that you can actually do something which you already have experimented so far. So then you can actually write equations and stuff like that. So that is actually true to an extent while you are actually going in a research perspective. And while coming in an engineering perspective, their research is not at all important. There, what actually matters is time is actually a matter, and what you are actually doing is a matter. So that's why what I really do image is there. There we need everything as early as possible, as simple as possible, as optimized as possible. That's why we are actually implementing it like that. I'm also taking one example there. Suppose you have an image with you, and that image is full of text, lines of text. So you have to identify each line. You can actually identify each line in two perspectives. One is a research perspective, and another is a engineering perspective. Let me say firstly, like how we can actually do that in an engineering perspective. While we are actually scanning that image, you can actually give to some optical character recognition or something, and take the bounding boxes of the text, and take every line uh, separately. So that's how we can actually do that in an engineering perspective. It is as simple as that. But while coming into a research perspective, we have to do something else, because you have to transform that image into y-axis. You have to see the continuity of that image, and you have to plot that graph. And from that graph, you can actually say that the trough, you have the crust and trough for each graph, or for that wave. And you can actually say that the trough portion, or the coordinate of that trough portion, is actually determining the lines of the text, or the text belonging to a single line. So if you are taking that coordinates, we can actually say that that image or that text actually belongs to this line. So this is how we actually do something in a research perspective. Even in the engineering perspective, in the back end, it is actually working like that, but we are not seeing it, because in engineering perspective, we are actually solving the problem only, and we are actually taking another problem after we solve the present problem. So that is how we have to think in both perspectives, or both manner. Next one is big data and machine learning. With the advent of big data gave us the power to transform complex models, and thus deep learning actually arose. And deep learning gave us the power to do complex tasks like image recognition and all. So I already told that machine learning only deals with statistical data, and even if we give, or even if we induce more and more data into machine learning, it will be really time consuming, as well as we don't get the result that we actually decide in our mind. So for that, deep learning actually rised up in the AI industry. In deep learning, we can actually it is actually data hungry models, or we can actually say that they are baby models, because how much you feed data into them, the more the accurate they be. So that is how a deep learning model actually works, and you have to fed the accurate data, because if you fed some wrong data, it will actually behave like that also. So that is actually needed to be keep in mind while you are actually going into these kind of stuffs. So that is how deep learning is actually become popular and widely used, because for example, in an image, where we are actually extracting something. It actually takes the deep features like the edges, the pixel density, the colors, and these kind of things. It is actually getting account of in deep learning. So that is all about big data and machine learning. Now, deep learning. So deep learning, in a nutshell, is actually mimicking the human brain, or how the neurons in our brain actually works. So in deep learning, we are actually hearing these terminologies, which is neural networks, GPU, too much of data, and auto feature selection. So this is actually what making deep learning, the present deep learning that we are actually doing right now. So neural networks, I already told about that. Uh, it is actually mimicking the human brain. So we are actually creating the neural network in computers in order to, like, just like the human brain's neural networks, which is properly known as, or which is known as artificial neural networks. And so many variants of artificial intelligence neural networks available in nowadays. The third one is GPU. I don't need to go further about that because everyone knows about GPU really well. Too much amount of data. In the previous slide, I told about that auto feature selection. Because in a machine learning model, while we are actually creating a useful step or a useful statistical model, you have to determine the features. For example, I am also taking some other example. Suppose you have some data with you of indoor and outdoor images, and you have to classify them as either indoor or outdoor images. You can do that in both ways, in machine learning and as well as deep learning. In machine learning, for that you have to select the features first, because you are determining the features to say which is actually an indoor or an outdoor image. So I'm taking some features there. So if it is a outdoor image, the geometry or the things will be really in a really high manner, and the lighting will be also in a really high manner. Then the yeah, that kind of things will be in a higher manner in the images which are outside, and inside it will be really less, or compared to outdoor images it will be really less. So uh, these are the features that you are actually inducing the model to study to check whether the image is a indoor or outdoor image. So that is the machine learning perspective of the use case. So let's go further into the deep learning approach. So in the deep learning approach, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is that you have to create a data set and you have to feed that to a model. So by feeding that to a model, it will actually identifies the features from the images of its own and studies the features with the model. So that is auto feature selection. So everyone might be thinking that then why do we have to go for machine learning? Instead, we can actually use deep learning, and we can actually do the task simply. But there also you have to identify something, because machine learning is kind of really faster than deep learning, because I already told that we have to see so many parameters in deep learning, but machine learning is a straight away approach. It is coming, it is going like that. So for that, um, in these cases, we are actually having some other terminology, because in machine learning, it is really faster and it is much easier to use in a small scale or for some use cases. But we don't have to account deep learning for that. So that's why some use cases are meant for machine learning only. Some others are useful for or meant for deep learning only. So that is about the introduction in deep learning. So how this magic actually works. So this is an animation. So you can see cat and dog. We are actually feeding the image of a dog into the neural network that we have actually made. And in the neural network, this is the input layer, or the let's forget about that terminology as well. This is where you are actually feeding that image. It is actually doing some inside. It is actually again going to another layer. After that, it is going to the last layer. So with the help of some computation which is happening from the input to output, it is saying that the given image is either dog or cat. So this is how it is actually working. So what it is actually happening here is, so I'm taking the technical terms here. Input layer actually takes the image and it is actually fed to the input layer in a conceivable form, and it actually studies about the pixel ratio, pixel counts, then sizes, shapes and all. some things will be studied here. It will be passed to the hidden layer. Then some other further computation actually happens there. And with the help of these things that is actually studied so far from the input to the output layer, it is actually coming under a conclusion that the given image is either a cat or a dog. So that is about a working of a simple neural network in a really non-technical manner. So the math behind AI. So everyone is afraid of AI. Like I am actually taking so many sessions. I have taken so many sessions in AI, both in inside and outside Kerala. So after the session, so many people actually approached me and actually they said that they are actually afraid of AI because of the mathematics behind it. So you don't have to be a mathematical guru in order to study machine learning. You need to study the concepts of the things that are needed for AI, and as well as some like the desired mathematics behind it. So for example, these are the some things that are behind it, which is linear algebra. Then next one is calculus. Then statistics is there. Probability theory is there. Then optimization theory is there. So these are the some of the things which actually comes under like the math behind AI. Here the here the statistics actually concept which is actually used for creating that model and optimizing it and stuffs like that. So every kind of mathematical terminologies that are given here actually perform something for the machine learning models. So you don't, I am again saying that you don't need to be a math guru in order to study machine learning. You need to know the concept, as well as you need to know some maths or some topics in linear algebra, calculus, statistics, probability theory, and optimization theory that are meant for AI. So that is only needed. So the learning become more easier. So AI, what is hype and what is real? So that is the real world scenario. Problem with overfitting, wrong idea of AI in people, fear of AI. These things are really need to be said in a really extended manner, because problem of overfitting is basically because you have a shallow data, and you are actually trying to see how that you trained a model with that data, and you are actually seeing that how that is actually working for some unknown data or some deep data. The model might get false predictions, or it may not get the result that we are actually needing. So that problem or that kind of problems are actually known as overfitting. And wrong idea of AI in people. Even if this is also a real world scenario, even if you take LinkedIn, you can see so many people posting things related with AI. See, I have done this and I have done that and like that. So everyone actually thinks that okay, these guys are doing so many in AI and I can match with them. So don't think like that while studying AI, because imposter syndrome is really high in AI industry, because so many people thinks that so many people even me in my first time while I was studying AI, I also thought like that, because that thing the things that you are seeing in LinkedIn are not the real things that behind it, because sometimes they might have actually taken the code from some other places and they made it alterations to say that it's their thing, and they put in their GitHub repo and they actually do that thing, and they are actually showcasing it. So this is actually happening in a large scale. So don't think that it is not meant for you. Everyone can study AI, and it is not that much tough. So wrong idea of AI in people is also a thing in the real world. Next one is fear of AI. In the previous slide, I told about that. Everyone is actually feared of AI regarding these kind of things. Mathematics behind it, concept behind it, and stuffs behind it. And I am also saying that even if the 99% of the experienced people doesn't know in a AI in a full-fledged manner, they only know what they are working on or some concept they are actually good at it. So see, someone is actually having a PhD on computer vision. Let's assume like that. And if you ask something related with natural language processing, they can't answer because their field is computer vision only. So you can actually say that like that is not a real thing because but he's actually doing a thing which is only mentioned on computer vision only. His domain is AI, but his subdomain is computer vision only. He's not doing anything on natural language processing. So you can also do that. Like after studying this thing, you can also work on that. But as like I'm also graduated in 2020 only, so I some advices regarding that as well. The first 5 years, like my mentor and my manager in my company always say that the first 5 years in an industry is actually for training. So in these 5 years, you have to gain a breadth-wise approach rather than going into a depth-wise approach. So in the 5 years, you can learn as many things as possible. And after 5 years only, you will actually get promoted to a senior level role. So while going into a senior level role, you can't actually take everything because that will lose everything. So you have to concentrate on some concrete topic. So at that time only, you have to take a depth-wise approach. Till that, I know that everyone is actually engineering students only. So nowadays we have to do a depth-wise approach, sorry, breadth-wise approach only. I can see some questions that are arising, like let's have a QA session after the presentation. So what I'm saying is that in the starting of your career, you can actually take a breadth-wise approach in order rather than going in a depth-wise manner. That will actually boost your career in a really good manner. So yeah, that is the next thing that I would like to say. And programming languages for AI. These are the programming languages. I know that everyone will be familiar with these languages. Tools for AI. PyTorch and TensorFlow are mostly heard everywhere, and scikit-learn is there, Keras is there, MXNet is there, and these are the things that are actually needed for developing an AI model in an engineering perspective. And yeah, that is the next thing I would like to say to you. Then learning platforms for AI. So you can see so many online courses regarding AI in Coursera. Then MLCs is there, Machine Learning Crash Course of Google. IBM Cognitive Class is there, NPTEL is there, EDX is there, Udacity, YouTube channels, etc. are there. So that are the mode of study, like that are the easiest mode of study that you can actually achieve. Advantages of machine learning. So okay, before going to that, I would like to say an approach to study machine learning or deep learning. So initially, you can actually take a machine learning course and study the concept out of it, do the hands-on regarding that, and do a project regarding that. So if you do this much, your machine learning skills will be really awesome. After that, what you have to do is, that is the next step. Step 2, you take a deep learning course, do the same things, like do the hands-on, identify the theory, and do a project on that as well. So that is the second step to do. Then the next thing you have to do is take a advanced course. Like I already told that about kind of domains only, like computer vision or natural language processing or something like that. You have to concentrate on one topic, or you can actually take both of them, because I told that for the first 5 years you have to do a breadth-wise approach. So you can actually study a complex topic like computer vision or this kind of thing, like natural language processing, even reinforcement learning if you want. So what is the advantage doing like that is, if you are studying machine learning, you will get even a good exposure to deep learning. If you're studying deep learning in a good manner, you will get a really good exposure to the concrete topics like natural language processing, computer vision, etc. So that is the that is the correct way in order to study machine learning, or this entire field like AI, to be precise AI. So let's see the advantages of machine learning, which is more efficient of labor resources, then hiring robots for some jobs, then faster information processing and decision making, and reduction of errors, objectivity, then increased personalization, and So these are the advantages. I am also giving a stressed information about the second last point, which is increased personalization of information received. So, for example, I just took a session for the Kerala government regarding tourism, which is AI in tourism. So at that time, while I was researching through AI in tourism industry, I actually got stuck with a really good idea, which is actually implemented on Japan, which is uh, if you are actually a citizen of Japan and if you are actually going for vacations and these kind of stuffs, if you are going into some five-star restaurant and you are actually living there and eating their foods and stuff like that, the next time you are actually visiting some other places which is really into this kind of five-star or premium level, that restaurant will actually welcomes you with the welcome drink that you like the most. That is kind of a personalized approach of AI. So kind of a personalized AI. So that is the future of AI, which is actually developing right now. As we already discussed about the advantages, disadvantages are also there because AI is a double-edged sword. So in disadvantages, we can actually say about like the lack of knowledge about foundation on which the decision was made. Misuse of AI is also there. No data, no power. I already told that data is the new oil. And then computational limitations and a threat to humankind. We can actually say that AI is a threat to humankind right now, but let's see, or let's see what are the new advantages or new things which are actually coming in the coming years. So let's hope that AI won't cause any threat to humankind. So that's it about the disadvantages. Good manner right now because so many online coding platforms are there for AI, like Colab is there. So you don't have to worry about the computation there. Only you need to have a good internet connection. So that's all about the disadvantages. And while like before going further regarding this, like let me give you another heads up regarding something like as a beginner to start with machine learning, like I would suggest some more things as well, like into the in the engineering aspect. Firstly, like you have to need to have 7 aspects. The first thing is that a programming language need to be there, then a place to write and run the code, then a way to deal with the data, a way to visualize the data or visualize the result, then a cool algorithm to do the work, and an introductory course as well as a project to solve. So these are the methods that you have to see in order to in order to study machine learning initially. So that is also an advice from my end. So that's it. Uh, yeah. So let's see a video regarding like what is actually AI is actually doing or AI is actually implementing in industry right now. So let's see a video. This is actually like someone like most of the people might be knowing about this because this is actually a video from NVIDIA GTC. In every year they are actually releasing a video for their keynote. So I am into AI from my second year of my BTech. So at that time, while I was hearing an AI session, the presenter actually put that video of the 2018 or 2017 edition, and it was on a large hall of our auditorium, and like it was really amazing, and I got really surprised with that. So that is my initial breakthrough into AI. I'm actually presenting that 2020 edition of the same video here. Let's see the video and see how you are actually responding this, to that video. Do we have sound right now?
No, sir.
Sorry.
No.
What about now?
No, sir, we don't have any sound.
Oops. Okay, I don't know why it is actually coming like that. Okay. Actually, see this video on YouTube. I thought of showing this video as well. So that's it about the introduction about AI and things. So let's prepare for an AI era. So now it's time for Q&A. So if you have any doubts, you can actually ask, or you can also put in chat box. I hope that some questions are already there. So let's see that questions.
Jaya, I would request you to share the screen.
Some questions are also already there. What is deep Q learning? Yeah. So regarding deep Q learning, it is somewhat really interesting. Like we are actually going into the depth of reinforcement learning and stuff. So that is actually coming in deep Q learning, and you don't have to bother about that in the initial phase because firstly, like covering these kind of things like machine learning and deep learning. If you are actually thorough with that, you have to go. You can actually go to reinforcement learning because that is initially I told about the expert system that it is somewhat out of box. So while going to that only, we have to go into deep Q learning. That is like that is actually coming under reinforcement learning basically. So Abhishek Singh, that question is clarified, I guess. So I have another question from Prakar, which is what is the difference between machine learning and deep learning? So yeah, I am saying that again as well. So machine learning actually go into the statistical aspect of the data. See like this kind of classification regression things in a shallow manner, or the data that won't have that much of a variation or that much of a difference. We can actually do that with the machine learning. But while we are actually going into deep learning, as the name implies, it actually deals with the deep features of the thing that is actually having with us. So they both are actually like meant for other use cases because some problems like I told that some kind of a shallow classification can be done by machine learning, and some problems can only be done by machine learning only. We don't have to induce deep learning in order to do that. But while some other cases, for example, I saw an image that like there are so many Instagram filters that are available right now. So I saw some girls putting like the dog face and cat face in their faces, and saw a meme like that. Like there is a dog and there is a girl like side to side, and another image is there which is having which a girl actually put this kind of a dog filter in their face, and so, like a question is there. See how a model is actually like corresponding to that. So some cases, or that is real and horastic case because that can actually classify by a deep learning or a machine learning itself. But in some other cases, like so I saw some like some dog is there and one mop is there, which is really similar to that dog. So some cases like the model might find it difficult to see which is dog, which is mop. So in that cases, or if we have to go into a further depth of that image, we have or image or anything that is actually with us, we have to see or we have to induce deep learning there. So that is the basic difference between machine learning and deep learning. So Pragar, that question is clarified, I guess. This one is from Josh. This is our fine. Okay, so Vikas, I think you have actually mentioned about machine learning into trading. So that is not at all a beginner level thing because that requires so many research as well as some good aspect into machine learning and deep learning. So it is really powerful as you mentioned, and that is really good. And so many people, even so many startup actually emerge with the help of that AI trading only because their feature is to give the accurate prediction regarding this stock market. So they actually made that as a startup, and this is actually an AI powered uh, startup. So it is really powerful, and but that is not coming under in a beginner level. But if you are actually studying or if you are actually taking the path as an machine learning engineer or an AI enthusiast, uh, if you study the basics and advanced things as well, you can actually refer these kind of things. Algo trading, machine learning into trading, stuffs like that. Then how supervised learning regression? Yeah. So that is the thing. For to get into that, you have to like study lots more. A beginner level knowledge is not enough for that. So it is powerful, but you have to study a lot in order to reach there. So yeah, that's it, Vigash. Yeah, I have another question. According to you, what programming language should be preferred for AI? Okay, that is also a question which I got from everyone. So I would actually suggest everyone should go for Python, because the developing community and the contributing community for Python and Python libraries for AI is really huge. If you have a doubt, or if you are actually stuck at somewhere with some errors, even so many people actually got that error even 5 to 6 years back, and their answers will be available on Stack Overflow, GitHub, and Google, blah blah blah. So due to that, I suggest to go to if you are actually studying AI, I would actually suggest Python only. And if you are actually writing some code of AI, which is actually around 1,000 to 2,000 lines of code in some other languages, if you are actually doing it in Python, you can actually minimize the lines of code also. So that much it is actually user friendly, and you can actually write the code as you are actually writing a story. So I would suggest, as a beginner, everyone should actually go into Python languages. Sorry, Python frameworks and stuffs like that. So that question is cleared, I guess. Next question.
Sir, one more. Priya Pandey has asked a question. As you said,
Sorry.
AI. Priya Pandey has asked a question.
Okay.
As you said, AI compromises of NLP, robotics, vision, and speech as well. Please enlighten me that how far can we go in career with them individually and together? Also, as a beginner, how can we proceed with them?
Okay, fine. So yeah, Priya, that question is really an eye opener to everyone in a beginner level, because yeah, there are certain domains like NLP is there, CV is there, and so many things are there. So while going into, or while taking a domain, like choosing a domain, like either I am personally more into computer vision and a little bit into natural language processing. But yeah, I am doing both of them, but it is in a ratio like 60:40. So um, you don't need to study both of them. Like initially, I would say like that, because if you are actually finding it difficult to study, say, natural language processing, you can actually focus on computer vision. Or if you are actually finding computer vision too boring, you can actually switch into natural language processing or some other field. So even if you are studying any field of AI, that is actually a possibility to you to get placed in an AI industry. So that's it. Like that is the mentality that you have to find out. Like either you can study both of them or the techniques, but if you are actually concentrating on something, that is also good. Like you are taking the depth-wise approach initially as well, so that is not an issue. You can also go like that, and that will actually create a impact on the people. Like even I cracked the AI interview while I was in my final year, and only due to because I had project, the final year project published on an IEEE journal, sorry, IEEE conference. So that's why, I stood out from other the people who came there for interview. Like I stood out because of that only, because that is actually a privilege, because you already have that mentality to study AI, to research on AI. So that is actually a plus point. So I'll request you, everyone, to do that same thing as well, because if you are doing some real contributions to the AI industry, make that as a paper or as a journal, so that that paper or journal will actually get remembered, or you will be remembered, everyone like will be remembered with the help of that paper, globally at all time. Even if you passed away, like that will be the thing that everyone actually gets remembered because you already did a contribution to the AI industry in a really good manner. So yeah, that's it. Like you can actually do in any way, but that's not an issue. So that's it. So let's go to the another questions. I have one more question here. What are the problems coming in artificial intelligence? Problems in artificial intelligence. To be into the domain, I would say that people are facing the problem due to data because so many people, even our companies also don't having much data. We will actually research on getting the data from so many places and we'll do like that. But we don't have readily available data. That is actually a really issue because our model won't be precise. Then lack of knowledge is another problem which is actually coming in AI industry. So these are the two major things. But so many researchers are going right now in order to make that data centric approach into more into algorithmic centric or AI centric approach, so that we don't have that. But that will take more time and hope it will reach in a full-fledged manner as well. So that's it about that question. Are self-driving cars examples for deep learning? That from Pragar as well. So self-driving cars are actually example for reinforcement learning, I would say. But deep learning is also a part of that. But self-driving cars are more to be examples of reinforcement learning.
So one more question is there.
Okay.
There are some conception that AI will replace human at some point of time. So what's your opinion on this?
Okay. For that, I would say that it won't get much affected. Like in the present scenario, it won't get much affected because even if it is like done by AI, some cases, like some crucial cases, will be there in order that that will only be done by a human intervention only. So it won't go like affect that much extent, but it is actually getting affected. But yeah, but everyone, like the time and the world, it is actually evolving day by day and the technology is developing day by day. So everyone is actually looking for the alternatives and the most efficient things only. So that's why everyone is actually opting AI. So we can't do anything because that is the law of nature only, because everyone actually needs the things that are more and more accurate. So but it is actually affecting in a smaller scale only as of now, but I don't know how much it can actually affect in the future. But I would also say, like I would also add something in order to do into that, because AI will be only booming for to next 5 to 10 years only. After that, AI will be also a normal scenario. In order to like at that time also, if you want to stay in the industry, I would suggest, like that is my personal suggestion only, you have to study quantum computing. Quantum plus AI is a really like really booming research field right now. It is actually having a scope of so many research aspects in quantum plus AI. So I would suggest that if you are actually good in AI, you can actually study some of the quantum computing aspects as well. That is also in a developing stage. So at that time, like after this 5 to 10 years, you will be also in the top of industry, like as you stood while you are like in the AI era as well. So that's it about that question. Let's move on to the next question. Self-driving car, I already actually said. Next one is how to avoid consequences led by inappropriate training of our AI model. Okay. So how to avoid the consequences led by inappropriate training of our AI model. So two things in order to account while training an AI model is that we have to know what is our data. First thing you have to do is that, because if you don't know that your data, you are actually a zero, because your data is that how to behave is based on our model. So simply I'm taking an example of a small baby here. So you are actually making the baby to study the things that are needed, like alphabets you are actually making the baby to study, and the numbers, and the real world things also you are actually making the baby to study. So the baby will make errors and we will actually correct them, and that baby will actually slowly get into the place where it can actually learn and do things of its own. So that's how we will actually make an AI model. Similarly in AI industry, because you will have to identify the model, you have to identify the data, you have to know what actually the data is, you have to train the model makes some errors, you have to retrain it, or you have to tune the hyperparameters and stuff like that. So if you are not doing that in an appropriate manner, like if you are actually making the baby to study something that is not meant for study, the baby will study that also and will respond like that in the public. So that will be actually a problem. So uh, first and foremost thing that you have to do is you have to know your data and your algorithm. If you know both of them and you have a good knowledge in AI, that can be avoided to a greater extent. I'm not saying that you can actually do that in a fully fledged manner, but that can be actually avoided to a greater extent. Human errors are also prone because we all are humans. Errors can also occur at any time. So that's it about that question. Take the next question. What is the place what is the place of data science in AI? How far it is different from ML? Okay, that is from Vikas as well. So Vikas, to put into that question, I would say that data science, ML, and AI, these three are three independent career paths. In learning also, if you are actually going into it, initially you will study ML. Next, you have to study data science. That is the common procedure that is actually happening. So while studying ML, you will get I already told about that. You will get a good idea about how the things are actually working. Then you can actually go for some other things like deep learning or data science or stuffs like that. So the place of data science in AI, I would say, is that AI is a field. Data science is also a field, but data science is the field where we are actually seeing more career opportunities and stuffs like that. If you are actually looking into machine learning, I would say that machine learning engineer is there, artificial intelligence engineer is there, even into that like computer vision engineer, NLP engineer, and stuff like that is also there. Data scientist is also there. Data analyst is there. So every branch of AI is actually a career opportunity or a research opportunity. So data science is also having a good portion in AI. So yeah, that's it. Next thing is that's from Priya. I am fascinated with robotics domain, but I don't have plan or path from where to start. No guidance as well as so please guide me. What should I do about the resources to resources, languages, etc. So Priya, first of all, I would like to say is that I don't actually have that much knowledge in robotics. I only have the AI knowledge. So if you are actually looking into that AI thing, I would actually suggest you to go to firstly into machine learning, then deep learning. Then you might be needing for robotic programming or for robotic automation, you might be needing both NLP and computer vision, because speech as well as vision is actually an important part in robot, as well as reinforcement learning is also necessary. So you have to go a pretty much into this field in order to get a full-fledged idea about how to make a robot of your own. So I don't have any prior knowledge in robotics, so I can't actually answer that. So in an AI perspective, you can actually do these kind of things, and you can achieve the software part or the internal part of the robot really in a cool manner. So that's it. So I can see any more questions. So if you have any more questions, you can ask. Even if you are having any doubts with career or AI related stuffs, anything, you can actually ask right now, and we can wind up it. We can actually take 2 more minutes or 5 minutes, and after that we can wind up. So I can't see any more questions. So I'll be posting my LinkedIn profile here. So if you have any queries, like you can actually ask personally. So I'm posting my LinkedIn profile here. See the LinkedIn profile. So if you have any further more queries, you can actually ask. If you ask something in personal as well regarding these AI stuffs, you can actually pick me on LinkedIn. My latency on LinkedIn is nearly to 0. So you can actually, if you actually ping me on any time, you can actually get the answer from there. So that's it, guys. If you have any more doubts, you can ask, or else we can wind up.
Thank you, sir. Sir, on behalf of IEEE CSIT State Branch, I would, I give a really heartfelt vote of thanks to our chief guest, Mr. Karthik, who has spent such a precious time waiting on this webinar. Thank you, sir, for inviting us with this knowledge. Thank you for motivating us and showing us the right path. We feel much more confident than before. We are very grateful for your presence, sir. I would like to give you this memento for the worth remembering webinar. I must also thank the organizing team who is working hard for past few days to make this webinar a successful one. I would also like to thank our participants for being so patient and being such a wonderful audience. At last, I would like to thank Aparna ma'am for guiding us at each and every step. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys, for having me here.
Sir, should we wind up the meeting?
Yes, yes. Thank you, guys, once again.
Thank you.